In this video, I'm going to share with you a few pointers of high-performing candidates, which I hope you'll find useful. So first of all, let me define what do I mean by a high-performing candidate. A high-performing candidate is someone whom I coached and found exceptional. Okay, so this would be primarily due to their interviewing skills, and of course, at times also their CV also backed that up. What I do not mean of a high-performing candidate is necessarily a candidate who necessarily passed that job interview. That's not the main criteria in my opinion, simply because that can also be a matter of context and luck. All right. Now, the first thing I want to touch upon here would be enthusiasm. So I found that most high-performing candidates have a certain enthusiasm that they show in the way they answer interview questions. And to put this in a little bit of context, to present you the other extreme would be people who tend to be negative, to either end their stories on a negative note, or they are sad, or they never show any bit of enthusiasm, right? So notice the one extreme is when you are outright negative, stressed out, and the other one is enthusiastic. By the end of the coaching sessions with these high-performing candidates, I feel more empowered to work, right? This is when compared to someone who's stressed out, who basically, the situation would be far different, right? And showing enthusiasm for job interviews is, as you'd expect, harder than most people expect it to be. And even to smile in job interviews is a challenge for most, right? The second thing I want to talk about here is that whenever I coach the high-performing candidate, I learned, and not only I learned, but I learned something interesting from them. Okay, so I recently learned that from someone that how to categorize interpersonal relationships. So at time when you had a conflict with your manager, they said, okay, then, but conflicts could be either functional over a feature or non-functional. I don't like that person. So which type of example would you like me to talk about here? Okay, so I've never heard about this approach before. I found it quite interesting, something I learned from them. This is when compared to most candidates, to when they answer an interview question, they answer in a pretty flat, boring way, right? Now, high-performing candidates are not perfect. They don't always give perfect answers. They also give hypothetical types of answers all the time. Okay, so it's not about perfection, but rather about learning and about the interesting factor about them. Okay, number 3, and this is quite important, especially for more senior types of role, but for any high-paying job these days, is they really do understand the business that they're in. Even when coaching, you'll find that the majority of people do not respect the coach's time. They expect you to give it's 1 hour session, but you can do 15 more minutes and stuff like that. Most high-performing candidates will say, hey, it's 1 hour, I respect the other person's time, and then I move on. Okay, they mean business. They understand the business they're in, and they understand the type of exchange to expect from that conversation, right? They're also profitable, if I may call it so. So, for instance, whenever I learn something from them, I could share that information to you, which is also part of my business, right? Compare this with a person whom I coach who gives flat answers, nothing interesting. I cannot share anything about that type of experience, which is super interesting or adds value to your interview prep, right? So they understand the business. When in whatever circumstance they're in, they understand the business, they understand the levers of that exchange, okay? Number 4, many of the people I work with nowadays tend to be linked with AI in some form. Whether you're a PM or a scientist, you do machine learning and AI and you understand it very well. What I guarantee you that none of the high-performing candidates I work with were particularly enthusiastic about AI in job interviews. Okay, so they at best used a few features which I demoed to them out of curiosity, but never used AI as the backbone of their interview prep, right? So I know I mentioned this a number of times previously, but I just thought I'd mention it as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, high-performing candidates are grounded. Okay, so they are well balanced. You feel like, even if they are quite sensible and they have great listening skills, they are grounded, and you feel like it's not, you cannot get them stuck. Even if they say, hey, I'm afraid I'm going to get stuck in the job interview and stuff like that. In reality, they're grounded is the best word I could find. And I think this is also something for you to consider as well. All right, so this would be my 5 tips when it comes to high-performing candidates in job interviews. I hope you found this useful, and thank you very much for watching.